There we go.
God, it's fun to have the gang back.
Oh my God!
I know. I was saying the other day, I haven't ridden with David. I haven't ridden with David since March.
Well, the race.
Besides racing,
yeah,
I haven't ridden
yeah.
outside of that with David since March. That's kind of a while.
I feel like I haven't ridden with you guys in a while.
No, you've been all off doing better things.
Yeah, it was my birthday when we last all rode together.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. David wasn't there.
Yeah. Friggin' jerk.
I know.
You guys have nothing to talk about when I'm adjusting things.
Well, I could really keep going.
Usually I can't get you guys to shut up.
We were talking about stuff the whole time.
You don't ask me to talk.
Well, because your mic's good.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, for everybody wondering why the hell we're starting late, it's because my board shit the bed right at the beginning. Like, we were all like, so anyway, let's put our headphones on. Wait, why can't I hear anything?
Yeah.
Why can't I hear? And then, honestly, nobody's been down here since last show.
Except for the ghosts.
And that was on a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Damn,
it was my
gremlins.
wife. And you're leaving already.
Just taking my sweatshirt off.
You're just like, that's it, I gotta go. Wow. Okay. Sound system shit the bed. And I am coming off of several days in the dirt. So this should be a train wreck of a show. And then I saw somebody at the race this weekend who said to me, I stopped listening to your show because my wife gets mad at me because after I listen, I walk around the house swearing for 4 days.
So we need to put you back on the bleeper
I guess
alert.
I got to go back on 5.
Yeah, you got to go back
Fs.
on the F
What the
diet.
fuck is he talking about?
Yeah.
You got to go back on the F diet.
You cuss a lot, but dude.
Dude, do you have to curse so much? What the fuck are you talking about?
Before we begin, sponsor mentions from some of our great supporters. Muck off. I should just say what the muck from now on. Just be like
That's
a sponsor
actually
plug.
do that.
But it
Muck
feels so
that.
much better.
But when
Clean
you
it up.
When you say fudge,
Clean
sounds
it up.
kinda
But you know
funny.
what it stands for? It's an acronym.
For unlawful carnal knowledge.
No,
I only know
it
that
is
because of the Van
fornicating
Halen
under
album.
the certified from the king or something like that.
Really?
Fornication
So like
under
wouldn't even.
certification of the king.
So it's like permission.
It's permission that you can
Wow.
fornicate.
Interesting.
if Jackson's mic sounds bad, that's my fault tonight. I will get it fixed. Muck off. Clean bikes are happy bikes. Clean drivetrains are fast drivetrains. You need to care for your investment or it will fail. Muck off is the way. Degreasers, cleaners, sprays, and all the tools needed to keep things running. Be like me and just grab the refills. Save on bottles, plastic, and all the other waste. Use our link at backfiller. Next off, the Pros Closet. Get an upgrade for pennies on the dollar. Scroll through bikes up to $1,600 off with their memorial sale going on right now. In fact, I think it might close by the end of the day. So if you're listening to the show, are you in tears? You're
Yeah, I'm
something?
laughing because I text my wife saying we're starting late because I usually get home at a certain time.
Oh.
And I said we had equipment problems. She goes, all of you? Have you guys thought about Viagra? All right.
Time now to get to the Pros Closet. Scratch Labs is the last of our sponsors for tonight. Has the best flavor variety and their high carb options. Perfect distance fuel to get you through, and you can put it in your bottle. And Jackson's going to need a shitload of it this weekend. Let's go play bikes. And the audio doesn't play. Wait, nope.
Oh, good save.
And he's done it. The sun and stars are truly aligned. It was an ambitious attempt, but he did it. He did it.
Scott! What was it? What's the video? Scott Thompson or whatever it
he
is.
saved
the
it with his
soccer player.
face.
Oh, Sterling.
Scott Sterling!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, my personal debt to the cycling community has been paid for 2024 with the completion of promoting the 24 Hours of Riverside race. On top of that, our team continues its reign of wins with yet another member pulling off the dub. I guess David...
The hit squad.
I guess David and I have something to work on now. Come on and welcome to the Rim Break Bar nestled in the Arrive Studios. This is the one and only Pack Filler podcast. I am your frazzled tour guide who has a full certification / mini degree in broadcasting, but my board shit the bed. As per usual, but no means taken for granted, I have with me the cast of characters to dive into culture, news, and the world of bikes and bike racing. So let's get to it and see who's here. For those of you not on the ride, for our YouTube channel, which can be found at home on packfiller.com, tonight's prologue question: who, if anyone, would you like to apologize for how you treated them on a ride or a race? None of you are perfect, so you're all going to have to come up with somebody you'd like to apologize to, and I'm sitting right here.
You're high on that list.
First off, I got through the theme already. Holy shit burgers. I can say shit, right?
Yeah,
That
one's
just the F
appropriate.
word?
Yeah, it's just the F word.
I don't know. You got to ask that guy. He's the one that,
It kind of, I was kind of offended. So we turned
not really.
around,
You had a smile on
turned
your
around
Yeah,
and
you
rode
laughed.
away, and I
Yeah.
told him to F off.
face.
So if you can't handle it, he get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know what I say?
He did.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got an explicit title on it. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. What do you want?
What do you want
See
from
that
me?
E? That's what it stands for.
Doesn't stand for easy.
Yeah.
First off, he's one lapping this weekend, but not by choice. Mr. Paul Main. How are you?
One lap.
One lapping. The
Would
road
you
race.
like
Only
Oh
one
yeah.
lap of our
The
road.
race. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, take some of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
I
have
would
it.
rather have two.
Yeah.
That's the golden number.
We're going to get
Yeah.
into that. Paul, who is somebody you have done wrong?
Oh, it was a training race. It was back, about 30 years ago. And there was a kid. He was a very strong rider. And I went on a break, and he bridged up, and he would not pull through, wouldn't work. And we had like a half a lap lead on a crit. And then I just said, "What is your problem?" He goes, "You're going too hard." And I'm thinking, then leave me alone, And then we eventually got caught, and as the pack's coming by, he was still on my wheel, and I stood up and threw my bike back just to kind of scare him.
Oh, shit.
And then I heard,
This is a long time ago, so statute of limitations.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Yeah.
I've gone, yeah.
Yeah.
the kid didn't race after that season. Oh, no. That's when I really feel bad.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
He was
that's
strong,
bad.
too.
Yeah.
Well, it was. Is the key
Yeah,
word.
that was a bad. I did feel guilty. And I felt,
Wow.
yeah.
There we go. That
Yep.
was really that was a lot more than I expected. Next off, he's 3-lapping this weekend, Mr. Sam Waples. 3 laps. You poor bastard.
I don't feel good about that. Have we discussed feeds? We're gonna get
No, we
into that?
haven't. We're gonna have to discuss it. Yeah. Who's somebody you've done wrong?
I do heckle you a lot.
For those who aren't listening, Pat threw his mic away and put made 2 fists and cradled his chin, waiting for the
Staring
apology.
deep into my eyes. I'm ready for your apology.
Ball busting is not necessary of apologizing.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
true.
need to apologize for ball busting.
Yeah.
Around here.
No, I'll apologize to everybody but my teammates that lined up last Thursday.
Wow.
Rip their fucking legs.
Oh my God!
I'm taking your brother's mic
Such
away from you.
an arrogant
No, I mean, I think like I've had many times in the pack in the past where I've lost my cool, either swearing. Like I think one that jumps out at me is at wall being crashed out by this guy that like we were resetting the crit. You remember this? And
Yeah.
this guy comes up and just like comes in front of me and slams on the brakes and cuts over, and I can't hit the brakes fast enough because he just wants to jump off in the curb to get back to the start line quicker instead of going
shit.
around. And I just go straight into him and straight up over my bars, flying. And I got up in the middle of a full wall crowd, Pro 1-2 crit, and I am screaming bloody murder at this guy.
Did
and
you
my
use
teammate,
naughty words too?
horrible words.
Right in
and my
front of
teammates are like
businesses
trying
and
to
Nothing that would
grab-
make you blush, though.
No.
Man,
God.
I was
Oh, heck no.
irate. And like first my teammates are trying to cool me down and I'm still just screaming at him, and I lost my cool. That was probably the one time I'm like, hey man, that's not me.
But-
and the
But
last
it
Thursday.
shouldn't have been on you.
Yeah, I mean totally,
The
but you
last
can
Thursday.
still
Oh my God. Oh my God. Moving along. Next, he's also 3-lapping this weekend, but in another category, which is brutal.
but gonna be interesting because score.
Let me
differently.
introduce him.
Yeah.
Apologize for interrupting. Mr. Jackson Bulger.
Yes. Hello.
Do you have anybody? You're so polite.
And I don't really talk
Unless
that
you
much.
touch them on the butt and they freak out at you.
Shit, that was crazy. I don't feel bad about that at all, though. I haven't really had many altercations where I've really been, I would say, in the wrong. Because usually, I mean, as everybody knows, I'm not really the loudest one around, so I kind of just keep it in. Maybe myself, sometimes pretty hard on myself.
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't really.
Do you apologize to yourself? I'm sorry.
Sometimes I gotta look in the mirror and say it. But but like
Some daily affirmation.
That's a sincere
Yeah.
answer.
God damn it.
That's
Yeah.
a great answer.
I don't really like talk very much unless somebody's not gonna take a poll.
Yeah.
If I'm on the front and then 3 were in a group and nobody else is gonna pull through, I'm gonna probably turn around and say, I'm not doing all this.
Yeah.
But that's not.
so nice. That is so
I
nice.
can't wait.
I mean, I'm looking at people back in the day and saying, like, if you're not going to pull through, F your mother or something like that.
Yeah, I've never ever said that. I had somebody ask me to pull through last Thursday,
You
and I
pull
said,
weaker than your mother. On my. Never mind.
And I know. I saw her last night.
But I had somebody ask me last week to pull through, and I was like, I got teammates. It's like, sorry. I even apologized. I was like, sorry. I know
I do
you
the
wanted.
same.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I don't get in altercations because I feel like I have the patience to not.
Yeah.
I gotta have
How
a serious.
hard
I gotta have a
is this for
serious
you to,
talk.
like-
I gotta have a serious talk with our mailman.
Clearly, he was the calm one.
If it wasn't
Because-
the mustache,
because you-
I would know.
You and I,
Yeah.
you and I sound alike. People said this weekend on the mic.
Well,
something like
yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I apparently it didn't pass down the prick genes.
Apparently not.
I do remember now that you mention it. You've got in confrontations in the middle
Yeah.
of the race,
Yeah.
and it was Tri-Cities, a criterium, and it was an old teammate of yours, but he raced for Olympic sports at the time.
Yeah.
No, Grannies at the time.
Yeah.
Mike M.
Yeah.
And you two were on a break, and I just
Did you?
I
You-
just
you
like,
witnessed
oh,
it?
no. Yeah.
Oh.
You guys are on the backs. Everybody witnessed it. I mean, you were on the backside of the
all,
crit. You guys
all
were
3
screaming at
cities.
each other.
Yeah.
All 3 cities.
The
witnessed
tri-state
it.
area.
Yeah.
All Tri-Cities.
I'm like, jeez, we're in the pack going on.
There's a
my
great
God, what's-
disturbance in Kennewick.
Yeah.
All right, I'm 2-lapping, hopefully, unless it rains or the demons get into my head. I'm Pat Bulger, and I would like, you know what? Now you guys have got me thinking about it. There are a lot of people I probably should apologize to. For example, Ken Collins last week. But I do want to make it known right here, right now on this show that I really don't hate dentists. I just make fun of dentists because it's easy. Because dentists, in most cases, work very hard, but they also are many times rewarded very well for the career, path that they've chosen and the job they have to do. And is this believable?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe you.
Okay. So sometimes some of them tend to spend frivolous amounts of money on Pinarellos. I think I have a problem with Pinarellos.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other occupations that have Pinarellos too.
Because we know.
Oh yeah, I'd make fun of lawyers too, but they'd sue me.
Yep.
Because the dentist that we know does not have either.
No.
No.
I mean, a Pinarello in any of his disciplines.
So
He's
I
got
did-
good taste in bikes.
I did actually kind of bark at Ken Collins at the last race.
You did.
Yeah.
For what you.
Because he took a really short pole, and I was like, come on, dude, you're stronger than that. That was basically I said, but I probably said it
In your
far
Pat
worse.
tone.
Yeah. Come on.
But I also think that, like.
What's wrong with you?
life.
What the hell's wrong with you? You go suckle a teat? Come on. No, I didn't say anything like that. And he looked at me and he said, let me catch my effing breath.
And
I
I
was
just
like,
raced
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
he just did
15
the-
minutes
yeah,
ago.
And I was like, I'm out of breath too, or something like that. But anyway, the guy I really want to apologize to is a guy named Lawrence from back in the day. He
Lawrence
caused
Walters.
he caused he caused a huge crash in a race once, gigantic crash in a race, and I wasn't even in that race, but I never forgave him for that. And so keep in mind, I was like 15, and I busted his balls in probably a 15-year-old way until I was 18. And it probably wasn't cool. And, and I just verbally expressed that I didn't trust him, that he was sketch as shit. And so I probably owe him an apology. But
I saw him cry once.
you did?
He crashed twice in a race, and on the second time he was crying. On the side of the
Really?
Yeah.
Because he knew I was coming for him.
Probably
Yeah.
something you
Just gonna
said.
say that.
He knew the
Or
image.
you probably sweeped him.
That's gonna kill me.
That's never going to stop. He's going to come up with a new name.
Yeah.
It's always been Loser Lawrence.
He was an ex-Marine.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the man
If I
could have killed
remember.
me with a pencil or something.
Yeah, probably.
Wow. That's a long opener.
Yeah,
As
it is.
stated in the opener, our team record at the local series continues to be strong, although we aren't leading the overall team series.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Well, not really, actually, because
We don't have enough riders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's our problem. Should we add more?
and we're also like going for.
Yeah.
We have one guy who could probably help you out, but he's got family and work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week marked a win by. Where's my. I didn't give anybody else this, but you egotistical prick need it.
I do
Sam
need it.
Waples
I
won
do.
his race last weekend. Congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you, thank
Last
you.
week, not weekend.
Yeah.
Because if it was a weekend race, we would probably celebrate more, but week races don't count.
No.
What was the plan, and was this expected?
Plan?
Plan.
You think he had a plan?
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh, yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
like, squirrel!
Yeah.
Yeah.
David and so this is what's funny about it is David and I did have a plan. Like David at the last race, he goes, I want to go from the gun. We can snap this field. And I was like, that's a tall order.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, yeah, if you really want to give that effort, because I've done that with him before and it has not worked out because he didn't do the same effort. Sat on my freaking wheel. Anyway.
Like the
not gonna
Montana
bring
crit.
up- Yeah. Not going to bring up old quarrels. But I was like, let's
Well, he's
do it.
not here. We get to bust his balls.
That's true.
Can't
So
defend himself.
this dude last Thursday lines up at the back of the pack. If you're going to say go from the gun, where do you think you should be? Probably on the line, right?
Yeah. How many
No.
riders were there?
There wasn't that many, but it's
Yeah, but-
still like, I mean, I don't know, there's probably like 3 rows
Yeah.
Yeah.
ish.
Yeah.
And like, he's in the back. So he said by the time he got clipped in and got to the front, there was already a gap. And I'm like, yeah, because you said go from the gun.
Wow.
I went from the gun. But no, the whole
He
plan
needed
was,
you to do everything for him again.
yeah, the whole
like
plan-
push him up to the front.
clip in.
Now, did you wipe your hiney?
Did you bring your gels?
Did you bring your gel?
But
Chamois on your balls? Do you need me to put them on? Because I'm not.
But so
He can't even spell his wife's name.
Yeah, I know.
See the text today?
Yeah, what was it?
Voice
Gabrielle
man.
or something like that.
Yeah, it was all over the place. It's like
Yeah,
Anyway.
but like so the whole plan was
Fede.
that was the thought. We were gonna just like go be super aggressive. That was the whole point. Like they bring us in, Jackson maybe mark one move, and then we're going back. Like we're going. That was the plan for last week. And yeah, I found like with that tailwind, I was like, these are pretty ideal conditions. We came around that first like drag tailwind section, looped into the headwind, and there was already a gap with 5 of us. And like I let off the gas when I came around the headwind, and they look back and guys are going, "There's a gap," and I'm like, "Well, then let's go,
Let's go.
And
Do
so
your work. Yeah.
we started rotating through. The nice thing is then headwind. I'm sitting in the field. We get back to the tailwind, and I'm like, go to 450 watts again, because
Wow.
if we got a tailwind, I'm gonna make them bleed just as much as I'm gonna hurt.
Yeah.
So that just splintered down the field. At some point, I found myself solo after going for one of the preems, and I was like, well, let's see if we can stick it. And so for 30 minutes, I dangled out front, got up to like 20-something second gap, and came down to half a bike length
By yourself?
by myself.
Wow.
Solo time trial. It
Holy
hurt
shit.
so bad. So for those, I think 30 minutes, I averaged like 340.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a big effort. It was proper.
Right on, man.
Were you guys
Yeah.
going clockwise or counterclockwise?
Counter.
Sure. Numbers were on the left side.
Yeah, so that'd been
Okay.
counterclockwise.
Okay. Yeah. So a longer finishing stretch that way.
Yeah,
Because it's a
and-
shorter course.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Straight in
yeah.
the corner.
And the nice thing is
People,
like, I mean,
people all over the
for
world
me-
have no clue what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
but
right
like this, like once again, it's a local like race course for
Yeah.
cars, and like when I would come into that tailwind section, David was in the pack behind. Right, there was 7 chasers chasing me, and David's one of them, and he's just sitting in. And so that's causing something where everybody's kind of looking at him like, well, if we pull him back, he's just going to go. It's like, well, yeah, you bet he is.
That's how
That's the whole point of
thing
this.
works. Yeah.
But like, so every time I'd get to the tailwind, I just kept the same power. I was like, just go. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's where David was saying I was splitting open the gap every single time. It was just on the tailwind, keeping that power up. But I will like tip my hat to my brother for the first time probably in my life and say that he definitely could have planned his sprint better for himself because he got third. Like, he could have gone quicker around, like maybe even attacked into the like last bit of the headwind for this last tailwind sprint finish. But he didn't because the gap was coming down, and I only won by like a bike length to a half bike length, somewhere in there, right? And so if he would have done that, I would have definitely not gotten the win because, I mean, that surge would have been a lot hotter.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
David actually did it.
And Jackson, you kind of had a zone 2.
Yeah, it was a pretty not difficult race for me. I just, I knew that they were going to go, and so I thought, just really at the beginning of the race, Sam set an attack, and I followed maybe the first 3 riders, and then I just let the gap expand. So I let the wheel go, and then for the rest of the time, I was just like, if this gets brought back, then I'm going to make the most dangerous, one of the other most dangerous riders do all the work to try and close that gap, which he did. He did all of the work, and by that point, if we were going to come back and if Sam was going to get brought back in, I knew that
He's soft.
yeah, he didn't have the legs to compete in a 1,300 sprint, so I figured might as well just stay here. I mean, I got, I think, third to last, but I was just happy. I was happy for us. I was super excited for us all to win.
The 3 of us nailed it.
I think so.
Like,
and I think this was a win that showed like the most collective team. I will say, I think that I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I think that we are the most cohesive team within the area, just with how we talked about it a little, but it just happened.
yeah.
We didn't need that big intro to it.
No, and like during the race, it's like we just go. And then the fact that like, hey, if you were to close that gap to David, that would have been a very big second group. I wouldn't be able to stay away from that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, the whole thing was everybody did exactly what needed to be done. And that's why, like, back to the point of like us not leading the team thing. Well, there's only 3 of us versus some of these other teams have more than twice that.
Yeah.
But, it's like Jackson got, third to last because he donated his race so that I could win it, and it's like we've done that for Jackson.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do it for David.
Yeah, that's how you hope it works.
Exactly. So it's like we only really care about the win.
Yeah. Paul and I didn't get to race. Paul had family requirements he had to take care of, and I was dropped onto a rock, a large rock. By
That rock is a shit.
Yeah, that rock also broke a friend of mine's arm this weekend. Ooh. Yeah, she tripped over it, and I would show, but it's a visual thing on an audio podcast. Sure. But it was like just shy of a compound break, like severe break of her arm. She tripped over it, and yeah, bad break. Like a plate and 5 screws in her arm. But I was fucking around with a 70-plus-year-old man who's not somebody to. Oh, did I use it? I just used it once. There was one.
Mucking around with.
I was mucking around, and he jokingly picked me up. I'm not somebody to pick up, and I'm large, and he picked me up, and he says he threw me down, but he fell while he had me in the air, and we both landed on. I pull up my sleeve, and I have some boo-boos on my arm. Yeah. But the only thing about the arm was the arm. It was my back that hurt so bad, and so I was like, "That's it. I can't even move." So that was my reason why I didn't race. Yeah. But the good thing out of it, by the way, love this freaking guy, great guy, and he was very apologetic, and we were just
mucking around.
Yeah,
Screwing
muck around, find out.
Yeah.
And we did. And but it was the great weekend for me, and I do want to plug this really quickly that the race has been going on itself for a long time, but a buddy of mine and I took on this challenge,
name of the race?
The 24 hours of Riverside. And this is our 3rd year. And I'm co-race director. We had 500 riders and over 1,400 people at the venue, and and a combined 74,000 miles of trail ridden by all the competitors this weekend, and it was a lot of fun, and it was cool, and the race went really smoothly the entire time. I was looking at Eric, my co-director, going, "What have we forgotten, man? Something's wrong because this is just it's going too easy. What's wrong?" And I have realized that doing this kind of stuff is really rewarding, and I'm talking about putting on races. There are so many things that I do want to call on Eric, my co-race director, that he handles that I need to learn to kind of also pick up the slack on, because if this type of a weekend where we're feeding all of our contestants 4 or 5 times, we're dealing with campsites, we're dealing with park rangers, we're dealing with all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking, oh my God, a weekend crit would be a walk in the park. So I don't know. I keep saying I got to do more races, but I don't, and I got to do more races. So there we go. It also marks the upcoming weekend of our biggest local event in the form of what we call the RC3, or the River City Cycling Classic, which is also our road race district championships. So as we started late, we can't take too much time on it, but how is everybody feeling coming into the weekend? Who is prepared? Verbally say "I" if you feel you're prepared.
I.
Kind of.
This man, we were sitting at over 200 the entire time yesterday.
He has the
time.
biggest either humility or insecurity issues.
Hey, you can borrow some of my ego if you want.
Yeah.
I don't want to even touch that shit.
Yeah,
Like
right?
19 mile an hour average, even with headwinds.
Yeah.
And
Well,
not prepared.
the thing is I prepare differently, and then and that is
You're riding with a guy young enough to be my kid.
I know where I could be, and I think that's why
Wait.
I'm basing it.
Yeah.
I could be much better shape.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 10 pounds heavier than I was like
It's all
2
weight.
years ago.
It's all muscle mass.
No.
Oh,
It's called a spirit. No.
it's all
Right.
speed.
Okay,
man.
you get to see me in a skin suit this weekend, and you tell me if that's muscle mass or not.
You're wearing it
Shit's
for
so
the road
tight,
race?
It's gonna be,
No, for the TT.
Oh, okay.
And I got to quickly get out of that, or children will be screaming, people will be throwing up.
The babes screaming in the street.
What is that? It's like, slime in there. You got slime in there or something?
He's
like
so
a
full of
Oobleck
crap.
chicken.
It's like oobleck all over.
He's so full of crap.
No, but to me, it's like Jackson and I did recon the race, and that helps.
Yeah.
That's
a lot.
preparation.
Yeah.
Huge for me. I have to have that, and the list of starters grew over double for my category in just one day. So then that adds a little bit. I have to research each rider
Yeah.
and stuff. And
You
that's how I
guys,
put it.
do you guys also do this kind of research into
just
looking
wait for
into
Paul
the
to do it
field,
for me.
into looking
He
into
did it the last race. I'm banking. I'm going to get a text at some point.
Yeah. For example, our start venue has changed by a good distance from where
It's
we
about
are used
4.5,
to finish.
5 miles from where it used to start.
And
starting to Waverly.
and it alters the dynamic of the course, and then the fact that one of the first major climbs are right at the start. Is that going to be a dynamic where people go super fast right out of the gates and try to blow things up, or is that going to be where the hill is basically negated?
Well, my race
Yeah.
could be, but you're a freaking idiot if you're gonna, because it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
not
not
even
ours.
in the first kilometer.
Yeah.
You're starting to.
What did I
climb.
say? I at the intro I was talking about the laps. Paul, because of age restrictions, is only doing one lap. What's one lap distance?
29
29 miles.
7 or
That's
something like that.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel
He
the
should
same,
at
but
least
it
be
is
riding
what it
half
is.
his age.
Yeah.
No.
Wouldn't
So
it be
I
boring?
think it should be 2 laps. I think everybody should do 2 laps. But
Yeah.
that's the way they want to do it, and that's fine. And it got granted by the WSBA as our district championship. So
championship.
who am I to say?
Yeah.
So
It's district for everybody, isn't it?
yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
masters and seniors.
Yep. You two, how are you guys feeling about basically a 90-mile road race?
I'm a little.
That sound came from Sam's face. I just want everybody to know that my board isn't burning up or I didn't fart into the mic. Although I don't know. I hope my mics don't sound like my farts don't sound like Sam's face.
Your butt looks like it though.
Sorry, Jackson.
No, you're
we
okay.
keep cutting you off.
It's okay.
You're nice.
I'm a little interested about the distance. That's a long way to go. That's a long day. I mean, we'll probably do it in, I'd say, 3:45, 4 hours maybe.
Oof.
Yeah, and that's a long time. And it's just because if you really think about it, a lot of people are coming locally, and they don't have a big Soigneur team to follow them, so they probably don't even have a feed when it comes to a race like this. So, yeah, I don't know. Just thinking about how am I going to pack it all, like water-wise. I got 2 26, 25 mil bottles yesterday because I'm planning on just taking it all with me, and maybe getting something at one of the feeds. But it's a distance that I don't love to race without a guarantee of how things are going to go.
Would I be able to
Yeah.
feed?
Yeah,
Even
I
though I'm
mean,
just
I'll be
doing
the
two?
first one to be able to feed. I could probably even feed you.
Yeah.
Because we're
won't
staggered. Mine's
need
the
it.
last group. So 3 lappers go at noon, and I think 10 minutes later, the 2 lappers, and then the
Okay.
single lap is mine. So I'll be finished. All
And
we have
then
to have
you'll-
is a cooler. You guys have everything there.
Yeah.
I'll be feeding you and you guys on your laps. So
I won't need anything.
yeah, you know,
I mean,
you have something just in case
60
you don't
miles,
know, and
I
I'll
can
have
take-
it there if you feel like it. You know,
Yeah.
you might have dropped a bottle or somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know.
But you guys are going to need something on at the very
Probably the
least going into the last lap. So both of us technically could be there for that.
Yeah.
We'll tap somebody low and somebody high.
Yeah.
I just think about also
I'll go low.
I think of the placement of it though, because if it's right where it typically is, which is right at the only kind of climb in the entire ride, on lap 3, somebody's going to try and put an effort in there.
Yeah. To ruin your day.
Yeah, exactly.
Racers are such
Well, you
jerks.
can take a feed at speed if you
Yeah.
got people like us
Yeah.
have done
And
that.
well, that and like I mean, it depends on how much you want to take. But like last year, I had you hand me a whole bag.
Yeah,
That was
you
easy
said.
because I just grabbed it and threw it over my shoulder and kept going.
'Cause I did it right.
Yeah, you did do it right.
So then I wonder if we could hand you a whole bag, and then we can
Yeah,
distribute.
disperse. Yeah, yeah.
But if you guys are split up, you
Split
can't
up,
bank
you're
on
screwed.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have musettes, but you never fed from a musette.
I've never fed.
Oh.
I've never done this.
Believe we'll be running next to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
It's really
like we're
not
going to
hard.
be.
Do you
going-
run?
Especially have going
Yeah,
up that hill.
if it's like Jackson.
If it-
I mean,
high
why not?
speed,
And then
yeah.
I'll probably have splits or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
I usually, I mean, if genuinely, I wish I had a bottle with me. You got to hold it from the top, and you got to move your arm with the rider
Yeah.
when they come. And
If they're all
it
together,
shouldn't be too bad.
we're not going to be running.
No, yeah, you
Yeah,
can't,
but if
especially
they're-
with other people in the feed
Yeah.
zone. You can't run.
We're never going that fast through a feed zone.
If there's an attack, you might.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's a hill. Like I would be shocked if you were going over 18 miles an hour up that hill.
I have a short little story on that. It deals with Borky. And we did this race down in La Grande.
never gonna get to the topic.
I
But
know.
that's okay.
And we came up over the top of the hill, and there was attacks. We're doing 27 miles an hour because there was a KOM. And the lady that came with us, she was a masseuse and followed the national circuit and stuff and did massages and got paid. That's what she did. Her name was Vera. We called her Vera on because she was kind of this mystical sandals and candles person.
Okay.
And I hear Borky behind me, and she's trying to feed, and her eyes are getting big because we're just like starting to really wind it up in like 27 and almost hitting 30 miles an hour.
Oh my
And
god.
Borky's going, "Run, Vera, run!"
My headphones just. She's like, "Oh god, what do I do?" Hey, you know, she probably did better than Patrick Lefevre did. What was that race earlier this year? He was just like bumbling bottles, trying to look cool, and it didn't work for him. It didn't work for him. It looked stupid. I mean, Alaphilippe barely got the bottle, but it was pretty funny. This event also has a TT and a crit. And so far, the TT seems to be dwindling in terms of interest, especially at this bar, because of the severity of the road race.
Yeah.
But there are points because it's Omnium style, so there are points involved. Does the overall entice anybody?
Yeah.
Sam raises his
Yeah.
hand. Jackson raises his hand. What event are you looking forward to the most out of the three, and why?
Oh, I really wonder what the answer is to mine. I'm looking forward to Sunday's crit the most.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think that I'm probably looking forward to the TT the most because I use my TT bike. But I mean, the crit is definitely more of my style and flavor.
You won it
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
In a breakaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's just I know it's going to be a harder group this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough group.
Well, especially because although the crit isn't the district championships, people are in town.
Yep.
Hey, there's a bike race tomorrow. Stick around.
Yep. And I mean, I also think
They
that,
got an
like,
Olive Garden.
what I was saying what I was saying earlier is that like it is a unique thing in that like since we are racing together, we actually can help Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's just it's gonna really depend on where things are stacking up.
Yeah.
With who is where, because having this many guys, it's just going to be close because you're fighting between points each and every race.
It enrages me that I can't be there.
Yeah, I know for the crit.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
I'm contractually obligated to be at a high school graduation. And I'm not overstating that. I seriously am. That's my job. I have to be there. And it really bums me out.
So is this going to be a thing every year though? Because
It depends on if they do it this weekend every year. If they keep this weekend, usually the first-ish weekend in June is when high school graduations occur, and I have to be there.
That's something that, I don't know, in my opinion, I was thinking about driving here because the numbers aren't all that high.
Yeah.
And they moved from July to this spot because Walla Walla disappeared, but why did Walla Walla disappear? Maybe this is a dead zone for that particular reason. And
Yeah.
you're getting into wedding season and you're getting into, there's those type of things. And kids, even if you don't have graduates, you have kids getting out of class or going towards, and I know people, well, that's what old people do. But, you know, to think about it, whether you're a teacher or whether
Overwhelming
you have,
demographic of this sport.
you're the uncle
Yeah.
of somebody graduating. You know what I mean? You don't even have to. There's some kind of connection to that time
Yeah.
period. So
What
that
time-
could be a problem.
what time of year was it when it was that crazy like lightning, rain,
That was
cold?
May. It was in like late May.
Okay. I was going to say because like that would be the other option is to kind of piggyback off of.
Yeah. It's so, and it's funny that you switched to that, Paul, because I was going to say that roadies primarily tend to whine about the fact that there are not enough races, and then people put races on the calendar, and then all of a sudden nobody shows up. Mountain biking, even, you know, talking with some colleagues this weekend, talk about the fact that, you know, okay, we're gonna do this race series. There's the Dirt Abide series, and I really want to talk to the promoter of that series because he's doing these great events all over the region. And he spoke to the high school leagues, and the high school league said, well, our races are on Sundays. And so he said, okay, I'll do them on Saturdays. Nobody showed up to his Saturday races. And then he said, F it, I'm switching to Sundays. The kids don't show up to the Sundays and things like that. And he's dealing with some low numbers. And you know, everybody's trying to book specific weekends in the late spring, early summer, and then nothing until like August. It's such a weird dynamic and phenomena that has happened. Paul, you could probably agree with me, just happened within the last 20 years.
Yeah, easy.
It was a year-round game for so long. And what do we attest to it? And we can't say fire season because that's bullshit because the whole country isn't in fire season. What's going on? We don't have the answers.
I
I'm
mean,
sure,
I
but
think
no.
like I don't remember who I was talking to about this, but I think that what it is the fact that like where we need like it was probably your generation to like 45 needed to take the mantle to like, you know, continue like promoting races and stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
talking like a decade ago
Sure.
to continue those races, like building and developing. COVID shook everything. And then in another like 5 years, it's going to be my generation that needs to take the, you know,
Yeah.
and lead races. So that handoff never happened. So they started to dwindle because people were doing it for a long time. It's like the Tour of Walla Walla guy. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he just is like, guys, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like after a while, it's just like burnout. You know? It's like I wonder how long Ace is going to do it for.
Well, and I also think something has to do with profitability.
Yeah.
But putting on bike races once upon a time wasn't about profitability. It was about, thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. It was about obligation.
Mm-hmm.
It was, as I constantly say on the show, every club was obligated to put on a race. If you weren't on a team that put on a race, you had to race unattached, and you had to pay a fee every single time you signed up for a race because of a punishment for not contributing back to the sport.
Mm-hmm.
USAC stopped that. My personal opinion, biggest mistake they've ever done.
Yeah.
Outside of letting Skittles get away as a sponsor, because that was cool. They had a rainbow on their jerseys, and it was. I like
What
Skittles.
about the jelly beans?
The rainbow. No, they didn't have jelly beans.
Jelly Belly.
Jelly Belly was a team,
yeah.
but Skittles sponsored the U.S. national team.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Pretty sweet.
pretty hard to be taken seriously when you show up with "Taste the Rainbow" on your ass.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Well, I think on that matter, speaking of racing, I think road racing, I think there was just a storm of events that mountain biking, when road racing started tumbling, like participation-wise, who wants to put on a race? You're losing money. I mean, now to put on a race, to get all the permitting and everything, costs so much. And it's like Georgetown disappeared because the town wanted $5,000 for permitting. And they're like, forget that.
Yeah.
So it disappears. So I think putting things on has gone up price-wise. And then, I think the way people live their lives now is completely different. It's hard for me to go to the West Side.
Yeah.
And I think mainly because of my age and obligation that I have at home. So it has to be a big event, as opposed to in my 20s when everybody put races on.
Yeah.
It's like, gosh, do I want to go to Montana? Do I go to the West Side? Do I want to go down to Oregon? I mean, we had that, or down in Idaho. We had like 3 or 4 races to do or choose from, and all the fields were 70 plus people.
That's the thing. There were more riders because there were more races. It was a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's not working now.
And I my last thing that I would say on it is that, like, David and I have talked extensively about this too, that like that Montana stage race that we did last year is, I think, the future model. Like I believe it is. I think that like we are trying to continue down this path, and it's like, no, it doesn't work anymore. We need to shake it up and change things up. And we have that timing system like you guys use, and so many others do, that like you could just give people chips and then say self-seating. You know, it's self-seating. Like if you want to race, we would recommend 1, 2, 3s are racing A packs, 3, 4s are racing B packs, and filter yourself in wherever, right? Have a men's and a women's A, B, C. And like the races then don't have to fall underneath USAC. Like personally, I do not want to race 90 miles. I don't want to race 90 miles on the weekend. 60's perfect.
Yeah.
Like if I was doing 2 laps, I'd be so stoked about this weekend. But the thought that I have to do 90 miles sounds really bad. Like, and I honestly don't think that there's many racers out there that want to do that anymore.
I talked to one of our local racers literally yesterday, and he was like, 90 miles is so much.
Yeah,
it's a long way to go.
It's a long time to train for, too.
Yeah.
You know, to train to be able to do that many miles is a lot. So it's like, my thing is like, we need to change the system where we're not falling underneath the USAC rules of a 1-2 race has to be this long for a road race, so on and so forth. It's like, to hell with it, right? Like, hour-long crit, 45-minute long crit, whatever you want, time trial. It could be 3 miles, it could be 10 miles. You just name your distances, but it's like, I think you could then have a really fun stage race and do it a different way.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus because and the race isn't happening again this year, and that bums me out. But that Montana race was not sanctioned by the USAC. They did not have to pay for 8 USAC officials to leave their house from the moment they leave the house to the moment they get there and the moment they leave the house again. It's like they're effing firefighters. It's I hate saying effing. But
mucking.
You know, they're mucking.
It doesn't work.
That's a huge cost.
Stupid.
That's a huge cost. Our race that we put on, the 24 hours race, there are insurance companies that insure your event per rider fees that you add on to the rider fee and things like that. There are ways around this. And I need to talk to
Like
a lot more
Oprah.
race promoters.
That
Yeah.
you were talking to,
Yeah.
a few years back interviewing.
And there are ways around this. And I think we have an extremely flawed model in this country. And it's hurting. But I can only imagine it's the same in Europe, where the UK is forced to do predominantly time trials because you can't get road closures.
Yeah. Well, getting back to Montana,
Yeah.
we earned USAC
We earned
points.
USAC points.
Yeah.
Because
So
you can
there had to
apply
have been some
those.
sort of an agreement,
Yeah.
obviously.
So,
Yeah.
so if that's your concern, I guess my point is, if that's your concern, whatever their model is, that's what you want to mimic.
Yeah.
I mean, the time trial is like, hey, I mean, I've never seen this. I thought it was a brilliant idea. You didn't have a set time. It's like you have until 11 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah.
line up
For the TT.
for the TT.
yeah.
It starts from 9 to 11, and if you miss that point, if you're back in the, you miss. They're going off on one minute intervals. You better do your counting because if some guy's ahead of you and he goes off at 11, you're not going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
That
I
was
think
a
that's a
really
great
cool-
idea.
Yeah, that was a really cool time trial for that
Yeah.
reason. I
And
was
by the
able
way,
to-
you don't need chips to do that.
no,
If Jackson is number 11, I log in at number 11 went off at 8:42 a.m.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. The finish, number 11 crossed the line at it's Jackson, so 8:45
Yep.
a.m.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's done. I mean, and there are apps now on your phone that it's not Race Timer. I have the app, and you can actually just hit the button on your phone, and it gives it to you, and it posts it to the web. Rolling results. I mean, there are ways to do this, and there are ways to make it affordable.
but the complicated part is the crit.
Yeah.
You have to keep track of people being
Yeah.
lapped, and you're gonna have to.
I don't know how they did your guys.
well,
That
we
was-
had we
yeah,
had,
they
we
did
had our little
chips.
tags on them.
We had those
Yeah.
chips.
There were
They
people
did.
lapped though.
Yeah.
So many people lapped.
Yeah, I mean, because I finished like 2 minutes
Yeah.
up on David or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
As
I
it
got
should be.
lapped by
Yeah.
the leaders 4 times, and I lapped 4 people 2 times.
Yeah.
And
And I
it's still registered.
Yeah,
yeah. That's what's cool about it, though, is it was like,
We weren't rolling over mats, though. It was the side radar
Yeah,
kind
yep.
of things, pegs. Okay.
they had that
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
tack paper that on your seat post.
But I think
that's why I
that is-
couldn't give him my bike to finish the road race when he got a flat
Yeah.
because it would be me
yeah. Yeah.
You got
because
some major
his
points.
seat height is the same as mine.
Yeah. Oh.
But I think that's the future. That is the future of road cycling, is doing events like that. Like,
Sorry, I just had a horrible thought. Wait, Paul's nice. They both have the same inseam. The fuck? That was horrible. That was terrible. Yeah.
It was
okay.
just one night.
It's just once. Just that one time. Just that one time.
I got really drunk.
Yeah. Does anybody have any events on the horizon after this weekend?
I'm looking. I'm really, really looking.
I'm looking at gravel races.
I'm not
So
looking
high
at
90 grindy.
That one looks brutal. That's the old Ellensburg.
Speaking of doing 90
Clay
miles
Ellen.
Yeah. 90 miles.
on gravel on top of
That's
it.
what I was
I
going to
don't
call
want
you
to
out
do
on.
90
I
mile
thought
road
Clay
race.
Ellen was different than the Ellensburg course.
I don't. It probably is.
I think it
but
is.
that's what I was going to call you out on. Is you guys are racing 90 miles on the road this weekend, but an I-90-90, if it rhymes and has a glitchy name and they're Kirkland nuts halfway through, all of a sudden it's a doable distance. Why is that?
Because it's not.
Answer me that. Riddle me that, Mr. Braggadocious dickhead. Somebody finish that sentence for me.
But yeah, I think that it's just because it's not a like I could pull over and refill my bottles. I could start with a Camelback, and it's not as you know like I might have to start.
And you
with a
pay
Camelback
money
this.
for that? See, that's
Yeah.
that's not something I pay
100
money for.
Yeah, it's a different style. So like yeah, it's a longer distance than I'd want.
And
but
how much is that?
That's a great question. You know, $75,
I'd have to look. No, it's more than that.
$90.
No, it's over.
No way is it over on.
It is.
No way.
Keep talking.
Well, while you look, I'm very keen on finding another one. With it, just another road race for us to go to. Even if it,
EPO.
yeah.
Let's do that. There's 3 crits in Everett. I mean, there's a chance
He's
I'll be
the
able
race
to go.
director's a listener, and he's going to be chiming in right now when you guys say this. But yeah,
Yeah. Because I don't remember what weekend it is. But
$95.
It's the last
it's
weekend in
More
June.
than $1 a mile. Brutal.
You know
How much was it?
95 for the full distance. 85 or
But look, you
roll
can
up-
fill up your.
no.
You get Kirkland muffins
Kirkland.
and nuts,
Nuts.
and
Yeah.
you can fill up your own water bottle
And
at your own
bananas.
leisure
There's bananas.
for $90. And
There's
bananas for 95.
Roll-
You can
Scroll
chew.
up.
You can chew
Scroll
on
up.
these nuts.
Scroll up.
Okay.
Down a little.
People
Download.
don't know. This is an audio podcast.
Look at how
That's okay.
happy those bike riders are.
No, those people.
They're
Should,
smiling.
I don't-
That's why I'm there.
I don't know about you
I
guys,
wanna
but
smile.
if they have that on their website, I want to see pain, suffering. I don't want somebody waving and smiling. I'm not going to do that event.
See, Paul's
That's
never
not for
going to
me.
be able.
I want to
the-
see like the speed stripes going out the back.
Paul could never put on a fondo
No.
because it'd be just like Paul's kick your teeth in fondo.
Yeah.
Or something like that. You know,
I'd be out there with a bullwhip.
punishment fondo.
Yeah, you're not
Paul's-
going
Wait.
fast
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah. If you're smiling,
Thank you, mistress.
you're not riding.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. This is, people aren't going to put on races if it's
Well-
going to happen. So
Well, the EPO, we got to look hard
Yeah.
and strong. You know,
Yeah.
and that's something that's worth to me, as I was mentioned before.
I have the weekend free.
Yeah, and I've got some elderly
Yeah.
family members that could be changing everything. So they're not doing so well at this particular moment. So I have to put that on kind of a back burner. But,
No, and that's
I mean, if
that's
it all works out, then
understandable.
it's
It's
fine.
not like you're
Yeah.
you know like
I mean, I'd like to because it's the
Yeah.
district crit.
Yeah.
You know, on top of that.
That'd be pretty cool.
And-
God, imagine getting 2 jerseys.
Wow.
That'd be pretty sweet.
And then the TT in Wenatchee.
Yeah. See, what I'm saying is, do we go back to Panache and say, we have a district champion and we want, for their year, make like a special skin suit or like a special jersey?
WSBA does provide jerseys.
But it doesn't have the Orive stuff on it.
Oh, you want like a world championship, like a one-off
I just
kit?
want a
Yeah.
sleeve. I just want a sleeve that's the band.
So you do
Well,
the
that's
band,
to
you'd
keep
be
for
green
life.
and yellow
Yeah.
or green with a little.
Which should, if
Washington
anybody
in it.
wins it, I
Yeah.
feel like we can all take that. I can just be on the kit.
That'd be pretty
Or
cool.
a
Get a
team.
band on it. Ooh, that's what we're doing.
Sleeves,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what we're doing.
All right, we got some name for
Let's
it.
discuss
Decision
this
made.
past weekend's headlines while you guys dream of grandeur. In case you guys didn't know, the 107th Giro d'Italia concluded this last weekend in Rome with a sprint victory from Tim Merlier. And a promenade day for the one and only Tadej Pogacar, sealing just shy of a 10-minute.
Yep.
Yeah, I
No,
thought that. I
no,
thought the Giro,
no.
I thought
Wrong,
the Giro
wrong,
ended
wrong.
like 2 weeks ago.
Overall lead on Danny Martinez and over 10-minute lead on Geraint Thomas. In addition to 6 stage wins, cementing his name in the books in terms of sheer dominance. So, before I get to
No, you
You're
are
so wrong.
super wrong.
what can we take away from this year's Giro?
Tadej's fast.
And yes,
He's a good bike rider.
Wow.
You're a very good bike rider.
what we can take away from these past 3 weeks is that we witnessed history in the last 3 weeks. He broke Merckx's record for winning the most Giro stages in 1 year, right?
Well,
No, he won more than
he tied him in pink, but he won 6 stages.
Right.
which is
But,
more than
but
Merckx
he
won
Merckx did 5 in 1973.
Yeah.
But he started the first stage. He was in pink the whole time. So his
Okay.
5 were. But he had 6 stages, but he wasn't in pink when he did that.
Well,
So-
either way, I thought we witnessed history.
Yeah, we did.
It was an amazing margin to win by. I don't know if anybody had won by that great of a margin. In a,
Since
been like-
1965.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say like over 50
I think
years.
it was Giamondi.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
You're
Well,
like,
I'm shooting
this
from
is
the hip,
what my
but-
brain is full of.
Yeah.
Well, I just set the ball on the tee, and
Yeah.
I expect you to swing.
Swing right. Yeah.
This was unlike something we will see for a very long time. And then I will also say that we are going to see the exact same rider take 4 weeks and probably do it again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Which, has anybody ever done the Giro Tour back to back like that?
Sure. Marco Pantani was the
time,
last.
Marco Pantani did it.
See?
Miguel Indurain.
Bernardino
in the 90s.
did it
Bernardino. Yeah.
Didn't he
probably.
do it? in the 80s.
He might have. He might have.
So within the recent era, nobody's done that.
No.
No.
which means
And Batani was a little jacked up at the time.
well, if you think
blood
about it,
was-
all the
his
names you
blood was
mentioned,
thick.
Yeah.
we're probably not.
Wait, you take that back from my man Bernardino. You know what? I blame Bernardino for the reason why I'm an asshole.
Probably. He was your
I
idol.
worshipped a dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, back to you.
I'm going to
Jason.
start a team in honor of Patrick Lefevre.
But
I'm kidding.
this Euro was, I think, very impressive. We are seeing a new generation of riders that will, honestly, we will be able to say, oh my God, remember when Tadej won? Or remember when Milan came back from such a far position and still won the sprint? Like, I think that guy, by the way, is going to be, if he's let free in like the biggest races, he will be our Mark Cavendish of this generation. He's a monster.
You're writing something down?
I am, Mark, because it takes me to the point where, and this, I'm going to go a mini topic tonight. In the first 2 minutes of talking about the Giro, you guys compared Tadej or a rider to another rider 7 times within the first minute of talking about that. We as
Lance
humans,
Armstrong won 7
There's
times.
there's 8.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
You mentioned that bastard's name again, and I'll throat punch you.
Throat chop. I want to hear that on the air. The throat punch. We as humans are always creating lists, our stats, our rankings. And when we think of cycling, Eddie Merckx always pops into the discussion at some point. Man's still alive. But what about before Eddie? I mean, we have
Junk on Cotil.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, why do we bother? And what if Eddie never was? What if every Eddie Merckx never existed? Heaven forbid, right? Would Mark Cavendish, Tadej Pogacar, and the likes have a magnitude of their accomplishments scrutinized as much? Why don't we think of Tadej as the GOAT? Why do we keep doing this where the sport evolves, the sport changes, yet we're still comparing modern day athletes to the athletes of old? It seems like such a weird setup that we're doing this, that we're constantly, Mark Cavendish's, if he wins a stage in the Tour, it's an accomplishment. It is not the accomplishment that Eddie Merckx did. Mm-hmm. Not even close. It's effing amazing, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. Yet we as a human species are putting it on such a high pedestal.
Yeah.
We're all doing it. I do it too. Why do we do that? Is the appreciation of history an instrumental part of cycling's palmares?
I think certain sports there is, and I think baseball is another one. Baseball is all about stats.
Yeah.
That's what that game's about. And I think cycling is too. It is an old sport. Football or soccer has has its legends and stuff, and and even basketball. Right now it's the Michael Jordan and LeBron James kind of discussion. That I think that's natural, but cycling is hugely deeply based on history. It is a unique sport. It is very tangible, very accessible type of sport where, that's how you get so involved. I mean, it's a unique sport. I think it's very, very logical for people to do that.
Yeah.
Is it a hindrance though?
I don't think it's a hindrance at all. I think what it does is it bolsters athletes to perform to even a higher level than we thought was ever possible. That's what's so amazing about Tadej, is that we see a rider who we thought could do anything and everything, who we thought was infallible. Yeah. And then we see another rider do more or do better. I honestly will say, and I know that this sport, like Paul, you were just saying, is steeped in such heavy history. But I think in comparison to what soccer does, for so long, everybody was like, oh, Pele did better or Maradona did more. But now it's like, no, Messi's the best to ever step on the field. And I think we are seeing our sports version of this. I think everybody's going to be like Merckx. Everybody right now is saying Merckx is the best ever. He's still the best ever to do it. Give it 5 or 10 more years. I'm going to be honest. I really do believe that we are going to say, no, Tadej is the best to ever stand on a bike. I really do feel that way. Just with the things that he's doing at this age, imagine give him 10 more years in the Palmares he's going to have. And I can already see the squint in your eyes because you're thinking Merckx is better. But
no, I'm
give
not.
it 10 years.
Not at all. I'm not even close to thinking that. What I'm thinking is the times were different. The bikes were different. The riders were different. The races were different.
The game was different.
Yeah, yet we're still here comparing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and it's not a fair comparison.
Well, I in a way, and
for Merckx, or
I can see that, but
gotcha.
Because the equipment is definitely a lot better, and nutrition. There's a lot of things that improvement, which to me only bolsters what Merckx did, racing on a 23-pound steel bike, down 2 shifters. Tade will be up there, but what Merckx has done by the age 25, totally is way ahead of where Tade is. I mean, where Merckx was at age 25 has already won. I think he already won all 5 monuments at that point in time.
Wow. Yeah.
And so and he's won all the Grand Tours by age 25. Yeah. So, but it is a different time, and Tade doesn't matter timing wise. If he races to 35 and he stacks onto that, then we have something to really compare.
Yeah.
But right now he's racing like what we heard Merckx did. People complained that he was taking away wins from other people. Merckx heard it all the time, and you can watch. I think it's in Stars and Water Carriers, an old film that documents that. And a guy's on there. They had a microphone. One of the riders going, "Why?" He was serious. Why don't you let somebody else win? He's putting the microphone in front of Merckx. I mean, they were getting frustrated because Merckx was just killing them.
Yeah. So, and then you also get into the topic a little bit of, is it even worth comparing? Because the game is so different now.
That's my point.
Exactly.
Exactly my point.
When I compare players like Pele and Maradona and Messi, it's such a different game. He's such a different player than those two, and the game works so differently. Now it's so technical. It's like playing a match or a chess match in soccer rather than it was. If you're the best player, your team wins every time. It's not that way anymore. Teams can take down a player easily. And when it comes to this, once again, teams can take down an individual. Merckx didn't need a team. He didn't need anybody else. He was just the best, flat out, every single time. And it is such a different game now. Speeds are higher. This was the fastest Giro that's ever been ridden. Just technology is completely different. And so, yeah, you really do get into the question of, is it worth comparing, or are we just hindering these riders' achievements because we are comparing so heavily?
It bothers me at some point in time, but because the sport is evolving. Here we started the show talking about the fact that races just aren't going to happen like they did. And I'll give you a little, when Jackson was born, I assumed that his life was going to be like mine, that he was going to have a childhood like mine, that he was going to have,
Sam pick on him.
Yeah, and summers on the lake. Summers on the lake, and he was going to ski a lot, and he was going to do the same thing I did. It's not been anything even close to that, and that's where I think the sport evolution is. It's not the same anymore. The sport is growing, the sport is changing, and why are we so resistant to understand that is the case? For example, why do Grand Tours have to be 3 weeks? Why do monuments need to be old races of specific distances? What would a Grand Tour be like if the stages were shorter? What would would that help the sport? Would it hinder the sport? I even see Jackson going like, hell no.
Because I'm like, don't you dare shorten those stages.
Which makes me so proud to hear that, but we are so reluctant to change things. The spirit of gravel. If I hear the spirit of gravel one more time, I'm going to shit my pants.
Yeah.
I couldn't say the F word, so all I was stuck with was shit, and you got to extend half of it in my pants. So
well, and I think that
that old guy just shit his pants because you said spirit of gravel. Because come on, the sport is in its infancy, and already they don't want to change it.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, I'm the guy that's about to say, if we change a 3-week tour, then that's what makes. I think that specifically is what makes it so impressive. Is that Tade wore pink, for instance, for all but one day.
Yeah.
he won 6 of those races, and he did it back to back
Almost
to back.
a third.
Yeah,
No,
almost entirely of it.
Yeah.
The gravel thing, I do think that what we had, it's really funny. I was talking about this with my wife this weekend. Don't get me wrong. Everybody there this weekend.
You can talk to your wife. I don't get you wrong. It's
No.
okay to talk to her.
I said don't get me wrong because I was leading into what I was saying.
I'm not going to anymore
Oh,
after the whole
well,
Paul thing.
Yeah. What I was gonna say though is
just
that
one night.
yeah.
Just the once.
Don't get me wrong though. I think that all of the people at the event that we were at this weekend were wonderful people. However, I think that sometimes, and people are probably gonna be annoyed by this, but I think mountain bikers have a way of saying that roadies are so uptight, but I think that sometimes, and gravel people are the same way, they are uptight about being super chill.
Yeah.
And so if you aren't that, yo, bro, like, how's it going? Like, let's totally, like, rip it off this jump, then they kind of get a little weird about it. If you don't wear the same thing, then they kind of get weird about it. And it kind of goes back to that gravel thing. If you want to race it, if you want to wear a skin suit, if you want to go full aero, like I was talking about earlier with Dylan Johnson, then people are going to say you're taking the spirit of gravel away because you're being too uptight about being too chill.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying.
That's complete and 100% bullshit. I do all 3 sports. And if I get a guy on platform pedals and sneakers who's faster than me on super tight single track, he's just as uptight as a roadie when you miss his feed zone time.
Well, and then
a triathlon when his elbows aren't exposed. And his shoulders aren't exposed.
The other thing about gravel that sometimes gets me too is that when you come in with a different idea or you come in with rules, they're like, no, it needs to stay without rules. But it's like, I'm sorry, if you're going to make a race, if you're going to call it a race, you have to expect rules.
But you just contradicted yourself. In essence, because you're talking about sports changing and sports evolving and things like that, but a Grand Tour has to be a specific thing
because it has parameters, it has rules. I'm sorry if I'm saying the same thing twice.
Yeah.
If you make a race and you make the rules behind it, you have to expect that to stay. Just because it pisses you off or you don't like it doesn't mean that you get to change that. Those are the rules. You have to suck it up and take that.
But can the rules change?
They can change because of how specific things work. Maybe some riders now want to add in a different element to their bikes. The rules change. They got rid of aero bars in Unbound. And in practically we're seeing that in every other gravel race now. That's fine because that's a safety issue. If it comes down to people getting injured, that's fine to change the rules. But when you mess up something that's steeped in such heavy history, like a 3-week Grand Tour, then you kind of get into a muddy waters. Can we start to dope? That's a slippery slope.
Well, and speaking of stage lengths, you remember the original Tour de France was like 400, 500 kilometers. Yeah. And so that just for the sake of sanity, they shortened it down. But there was just used like 1987 Tour de France, there was 23 stages. Mm-hmm. In 1985, and those stages, you had a 55-mile time trial on one of them. And before, at a certain time, like back in
right,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and back in Bernard Hinault days, there was no rest days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they had to make these changes. But the thing is stages today are shorter.
The rest days. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah. I hate Monday.
Well, the thing is it's so savage. But what some of the idea that today's Tour de France is shorter than like in the 80s is because the only way you could win is to dope. Yeah. You know what I mean? You physically, you just can't do it. So let's shorten these stages up and make it more intense. And to be honest with you, it's a lot more exciting now. Mm. They don't have to be really short to me, but shorter stages are usually the most exciting.
Yeah.
And
so there's my point. The sport, in essence, is only as young as a generation. A generational lifespan is the life of our sport, which we consider incredibly long, 100 years, right? It's still in its infancy, in essence, and it has evolved. Paul just talked about so many ways it has changed. Yet, here we are, reluctant to change, and justifiably so. We don't want to screw it all up and just have it be business park crits. But here we're also comparing 100 years ago to today, and we all. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying that at some point in time, when are we gonna appreciate what is happening now for what is happening now. And
But
what
don't
is-
you think that's
and-
what we're doing?
Yeah.
That's what Jackson and I are talking about.
Yeah.
This race was not boring because we're appreciating what Toddy has
I didn't,
accomplished.
by the way, I didn't think it was boring either. I
Yeah.
thought it was freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Because and by the way, does it help that he's a cool guy?
Very
For
cool.
sure.
Did you see him feed that kid that
Yeah.
ran next to
Yeah,
him?
that was awesome.
Yeah,
I love
here
that.
he's on the breakaway towards
Yeah.
the final, and he gets
Yeah.
him feed. And
Kid
gives
is
it to
asking
the
for a
kid.
bottle. He doesn't have anything, so he takes a feed from a soigneur and hands it immediately over to a kid.
with a gel.
Full bottle and
Yeah, that's yeah.
You okay, Sam?
He's amazing.
I know.
He is.
He's a
And
good
I
He
seriously
is.
think, by the way, when he's in the team bus, he pulls a couple tufts of hair out of his helmet just because that's his thing now.
Did you see
I
when
I
they
don't
do
think
that
it
too. My
naturally
hair
does that.
naturally does that all the time.
Whatever.
Did you see when they were holding him? All the teammates were holding him, and one of his teammates were holding up the piece of hair that was out of his helmet. I just love that.
Oh my
so
God.
good.
Toddy tough.
Well, because we started so late, I gotta get to. Is that the one? Yeah, that is the one. I gotta get to our segments tonight. Sponsored by our friends at NordVPN, your safe, secure backdoor method. Hello. To catch all of the bike racing the world has to offer. Blocked by geological restrictions that forbid you from watching your bike races, your events, your commentators, and the like. Well, not only NordVPN will trick the internet into allowing you to catch the races, it'll also protect you and your computer from malware, spyware, and other damaging viruses and threats. The dark web. I just made that up the second. I've had 2 beers. I've had 3, actually. Use the link at Pack Filler to get started today. So, our first bumper. Does anybody want to go first? Jackson's out of it tonight. So, I got 2
I'll go first.
segments. Well, then Sam gets his own bumper. I'm just going to let it play.
I love stand-up bass. Listen to that
Yeah.
slide.
Fit Tips with Bike Fit Sam Waples. The discussion behind crank arm lengths. Todd Epagachar, it's good that we went into this talking about his camp letting it be known that he was riding 165s for crank arm length, which is tiny, which is a short crank, as opposed to longer lengths. So what is the reasoning behind going with shorter cranks, and should we all be doing it? Is this a fad, or is this should be something that is specific for your own styles and tastes?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I from what I saw is that he's running 170 on the road and 165 on TT.
With the
Oh,
61,
really?
62 chainring or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
5540.
Is that what he
chainring.
did?
Yeah.
I was always told that would mess with your knees, jumping around like that.
Yeah, I think that if your fit is right, because the TT bike is so different that it wouldn't really mess with
Sure.
your knees, from my experience. But I mean, I have like a 165s for listeners' references. Like that's fitted for like a size 52 road bike, somebody who's probably like 5'5", 5'4", and Tade is like what 5'9", 5'8". He's not that tall, but like still, that's he should probably be running a 170, 172.5, somewhere in there, traditionally. So the shorter crank arm length is going to help with impingement on your hip. So if you have a longer crank arm, to get up over the crank, you have to really close down your hip joint to get up over it. So there's a lot of aerodynamic advantage that you can have by lowering your front end and dropping down lower, because you're not dropping down.
Okay.
So there is a lot of research on people doing this. If you're a spinner, right? If you just love to spin, you find yourself at 85, 90 RPMs for most of your rides for an average, test it out.
You do, Paul? Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, they
If
hear
you're
your
a-
knees in 3 counties away.
If you're a Paul Main, you should test the opposite and go to like a 180 or a 185.
I'll do that.
Yeah. But that's just what the difference is. Like if you go to a shorter crank arm, you're not going to have that explosive power because you get a lot more torque if you have a longer lever arm. So if you go with the longer crank arm, you can be more of an explosive sprinter. But if you're like a GC guy and you're going for road races, things like that, then yeah, I'd probably rock the shorter crank arm. I have a shorter crank arm on my TT bike. I want 72.5 on there.
Play around with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I had a mountain bike with 180s.
That was
And,
standard in the early 80s.
Was it?
Yeah.
I special ordered them, and
175,
I hit every rock.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That's why it changed. Yeah.
Yeah, you filed down the end.
I probably
of the
started a couple forest fires by hitting rocks and causing
and
sparks. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like it's an interesting thing. If you're want to look into that, then shoot me an email with any questions you may have on it. But it is one of those things that really you can do any kind of a crank arm length. You can't really go wrong unless you go with way too long. If you're like somebody that should be on a 170 or 165 and you decide to go to 175, 180, you're going in the wrong direction.
It's not RPMs. It's RPH. Revolutions per hour.
That's for me.
That's for Paul.
RPTT. Revolutions per time trial.
Yeah, there you go.
I did 4.
On my 80 tooth.
Yeah, exactly. My 80 tooth. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, don't mimic the pros just because it's cool. It's not going to work for you, and it's such a individually tailored concept.
That's the thing is their whole bike is fit around this. I mean, they changed his entire TT bike to accommodate that shorter crank arm length, lower his stack height, all this other stuff. So it's one of the things you don't just slap it on and I'm going to do this now.
Yeah,
it's not gonna help you.
Yeah. All right. Changing times. Pomade.
So
I'm going to switch this. I'm going to tweak this music to the second half having some modern techno. I'm too sexy for my bike. Too sexy for my bike. Paul, what you got for us tonight?
Well, I rode with a couple of gentlemen on Saturday because everybody else was busy. So it was a good thing. It was good to ride with different people sometimes. I know. Well, it was just one night.
It was just one ride. It was just one ride.
So, but there's a guy shooting for one of the guys on the ride who's shooting for this segment, and he's like, "Wow, it's got to be close because I cranked out so many watts."
Oh shit!
And I started thinking about it, and I was like, "It's not really watts." I mean, he's one of those people that watches his meter. I mean, his effort is based on what is telling him.
Yeah.
And being the old, this is changing times.
Yeah.
We had none of that. I knew when I was going hard because of my breathing. I could hear myself. My heart's pounding in my head.
Because it hurt.
Yeah, and my legs.
Start to lose skin in your arms.
and you'd learn. I think that was a part of cycling for me. Like some people like to ride gravel so they can go out and see scenery or just leisurely rides. That's not for me. But for me is getting in tune with your body and understanding. I know what effort is, and a teammate of mine was trying to convince me to get a power meter, and it was just financially didn't make sense at the time. And I'm like, but I try and convince me why I need one. He goes, well, when you're in the break and you start seeing that if you're pushing more than what your FTP is, then that brake's you're not gonna last at that effort. I said, but I know where my maximum is. I just know by feel. I don't need numbers to tell me. But that's where I think that's where we are. When we started racing, you just knew. And if you didn't know, you found out after you got dropped. Mm-hmm. I won't go there again. You learn those things just naturally. Wow. And I think, and I've brought this up before, as my dad was a fighter pilot, and he said there was 2 types of pilots, and there was the instrument type pilot and the seat of your pants, and they both were good, and some were better. I mean, in some situations, one was better than the other, but he was the seat of your pants. I mean, he used the instruments once in a while, but he knew with his plane flying enough that he could know where the G-force at max, where things panels are going to start falling off, or he'll black out or whatever. So I don't think any way is wrong, but I went back and started thinking about a couple older riders, and Davis Finney was one of them. He says it's a shame. I like where cycling's going, but I think some of the joy of cycling, at least for him, and it is for me, and I agree with him on this, was the discovery of where your body is, and it wasn't numbers or technology telling you this is your limits. Mm-hmm. To reach that and figure that out it made you feel good. I mean, maybe not at the moment when you're throwing up on the side of the road and went too hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
You know, that's so funny because I have, now that my ticker's doing better, I have removed heart rate from my display on my computer. And part of me is thinking I should remove watts. And for, training is one thing. It's kind of fun to go, holy crap, I got up to bobbity boo on that, know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But in a race, it's almost like I don't need that number because how many breaks have failed because somebody looked down and said, oh, this isn't my FTP. You don't get away from a group riding your FTP.
No, and I would say like that just happened to me because I was in the I started out without even heart rate, and a little cat eye computer, and then I transitioned into having heart rate, and then from there power in the last few years. And this last race, I'm going hard, and I'm looking down. I'm like, those numbers are higher than I think I can do. But I'm like, then I think back to my body. I'm like, my body feels kind of okay.
Yeah,
I think I can keep going. And it's like, it's if you look at just the numbers, it's like it's so quick to pull the trigger and be like, no, I'm out.
Nobody's ever won a race riding an FTP.
No.
Well, and it's interesting to hear. I've heard several riders, probably only because I'm slanted towards away from numbers, but quite a few guys train with their power meters, but they turn that off on a race.
That I completely understand that. That
just
makes
because
sense.
of that whole effect. It's like, oh man, I can't sustain this. So anyway, that's my little take.
It's a good one. I like that one. Okay, let's end the show with a final K. Okay, this doesn't have to be in the time because I've been promising cycling tattoos for a long time. Okay, so I'm the only one here without. Do you? Yeah, Sam's got his ring. Okay, explain your ink, why you did it, and what would you get if you were to get another?
Has to be bike related?
No.
Oh.
So, who wants to go first?
Well, I have probably the quickest answer. I have a...
I'm stopping the music and I'll just play it at the end of the show.
Oh, okay. I have a just the outline of pretty much like a stick figure bike on the back of on my left shoulder blade. And I just got it one day because I'd been wanting one for a really long time. I was at this sounds super nerdy. I was at a theater festival with my
it's not nerdy.
In college with it is a little.
It's gigantic.
It is a lot.
We're both nerdy.
But I and everybody else is getting
Welcome
a tattoo.
to Nerd Town.
Yeah. It was in Fort Collins, Colorado, and everybody else is getting a tattoo, and I was like, I kind of want to get one. And then my wife, my girlfriend at the time, but now my wife, said, you should just get one. Just get a bike, like you've been wanting to do. And I said, yeah, I will. And so I remember texting her about it the whole time. After I was done, I called her right away. I was like, oh my God, I actually did it. And I'm happy I have it. I forget about it all the time, but sometimes I look in there, I'm like, oh, wow, I have a tattoo.
You have it in an odd location that you can't see it yourself. I always found that.
The first one I didn't want to be too overt and noticeable.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to hide it because I didn't know back then in college that you can't actually have a tattoo and be hired.
Oh,
because everybody tells you no tattoos, you're unhireable.
Jesus.
But the next one I'm going to get is on my right forearm. My wife and I have the fact that she really likes the moon and I really like the sun, and we always say I am the sun to her moon.
Oh,
and so I'm gonna,
that's adorable.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that condescending.
No. I even wear a crescent moon on my necklace, and so I'm
Oh.
gonna get a crescent moon on my right forearm, and she's gonna get a sun on her left forearm.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's gonna be the next one we're gonna do.
Freaking dope.
Sam, you're inked.
Yeah, I got a wedding ring. It's an MW Mackenzie Waples.
Oh,
Mi amore. Yeah, no, I got it, and honestly, I'm very much a person that's like this. It just makes sense, practical. It was a practical tattoo, because working in the field that I do, doing massage, all that stuff, get massage lotion underneath your ring. I'm a germaphobe, and that got me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm done with this. Got a ring tattoo, and I love it. I definitely.
Would you get another?
I don't know if I'd get another. I just don't really have anything else that's this is really meaningful to me. If anything, it'd be something family related. But
okay.
yeah.
Okay, that's permanent. That's stuff that you
exactly.
that's
with my
stuff that you're never
siblings
going to look back and go, why did I get Harry Potter on my shoulder?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stupid lightning bolt on my
Yeah,
forehead.
that was dumb.
Yeah.
the tear in my eye, and I didn't kill a guy.
Oh,
Paul, you have some ink.
I have 3.
Yeah.
I have, like Sam, I have one on my ring finger, and it's a symbol of my wife and I, and it's close to the sun. We have a sun and moon on our wedding ring too.
Oh, do you really? Wow.
But we have a kite and a string.
Yeah.
Because my wife is a little bit scattery all over the place, and I was a little more grounded. That was her idea. That all her life somebody's always tried to control her, but I was like the string that made her connect to the ground, and I just
let her fly. Yeah. Oh,
so she has a big one on her inside of her forearm of that, and then I mimic it on because as an electrician you can't wear
rings.
Especially gold is the best conductor of electricity.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh well, there goes my ring finger.
Yeah.
So
where is it? It's over there.
Yeah, and the other one I have is tower of their watchtowers of Nuremberg, Germany, where my wife is from, and it kind of symbolizes that's a family thing. Things came together the first time I went to Germany, that these watchtowers looked over the old city of Germany. And I kind of, because we're a blended family and type of thing, that all of a sudden I could see myself in a position that I was important to them as much as they were important to me.
Holy
and that
shit.
watchtower is like, that was my job, is to make sure they are safe. And, so, and then it's got a kite and a string on it too.
Yeah.
So that's on this shoulder. And then 2018 over here, I have the Kippel Muir, which is the chapel on the head of Geronsberger, the Muir.
Yeah.
And that has always been iconic. That is my personal one. Since I got into cycling, I saw so many images of that, and that was my mecca. I had to go there. And when Dave and I watched the Tour of Flanders there, I took a couple of pictures, and then I submitted it to my tattoo artist, and he did a very, very good job. It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Not just on the artwork. Not saying this is crap.
No.
But would I get another one? I think it would. It depends on my mood. The thing is when you get older, your skin gets pretty saggy, and I'm glad I put it on the shoulder, because there's some places you don't want to tattoo.
Yeah.
What is that, a razor?
What is
I'm gonna put it on my belly.
Yeah. Well, let me stretch out my skin. Now, do you see what it is? So,
Yeah.
So that's what I got. Yeah.
That's the old joke.
What are you getting?
What's the old joke? God, why do you have a tattoo that says AIDS? No, I'm old. It's Adidas. You just stretch it out. I was sponsored back in the day. Sorry, that was terrible. I have none. I have zero. I have zilch. And I've always thought about what is the tipping point of something that you would put on your skin that is there forever. And I've my wife and I've talked about this. I'm like, I love you and you love me, and but the things I've thought about are the fact that I've done this podcast since 1999. I've done this podcast for over a quarter century. And so I've always thought of the logo in some place, way, or shape or form. I should
don't get a tramp
Are we
stamp.
getting pack filler tramp
I should go fund
I'm
me it.
down.
I should go fund me it. See if everybody's willing to watch me. Videotape that kind of thing. The other thing was with the stuff that's happened with my heart over the last couple of years. There's the classic sticker you see where it's the heart rate, but in the middle it's the design of a bike. It's just the out like Jackson's. It's the bike, and I thought that'd be cool around my arm or something like that. But I've never gone and like pulled the trigger, and it's the classic, I got to get hammered enough with a bunch of my friends and go out or go to a theater.
Yeah. Do you want like
done.
a physiology educational quick snippet on getting a tattoo?
What is that? Hurry up.
We're
done
really
times.
quickly.
Yeah, okay.
You get a minute and 19 seconds.
Cool. I'm just going to say this about tattoos. Tattoos are cool. It's not really that big of a deal to get it, I don't think. But that ink is in your body forever, and your lymphatic system does try to take it out. So you go into lymphatic nodules, which clears all of the waste from your body, and it is dead because it's tried to clear ink, and the ink does not die. So you'll find like lymph systems, people who have big sleeves covered in ink, and they are way more immunocompromised. This is a big tattoo.
Holy
but take that into
shit.
consideration if
sleeve.
you.
I mean, they're all the way.
We're
there's
talking
people
like a
up
lot
there.
of tattoo, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like,
That was
know
a
that.
bummer.
yeah, know that about tattoos. That's why I have one. little
Everything's
tiny
a
one.
risk.
Yep.
It's all about little choices.
I now have something else you should apologize for.
Slow lactic acid clearing, which you need theest because.
You know what? I'm still
I
going to
ripped
do
your
it.
lights
People
off.
tell me I shouldn't drink too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll just say this about tattoos. When it's right, you know.
Yeah.
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 There we go. Share some photos of your tattoos if there are any interesting places. Not the
No.
bad places, though. Not the bad
All right.
places.
No,
not the bad
show us
places.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We don't want that. We don't want
No.
dick pics. We don't want any pics.
Nah.
Never mind. I take it all back. Thanks, you guys. Like, subscribe. Thanks, you guys, for being here. Sorry
Thank
we
you.
started late.
No.